Another issue requiring intensive attention is the possibility of another round of quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve. Let's listen to Sian Lim more on the possible effects of the QE on ASEAN economies.
Right.
Well, looking in a broader sense, the United States, the Federal Reserve, they said that a stimulus is coming, especially in September. Do you foresee QE3 happening soon?
I think market expectations are for further action from the Fed, and they have said that if the U.S. data does not show a clear pickup soon, they will have to act in the near term. So yes, I think the likelihood is for more easing out of the U.S.
And if the U.S. does do quantitative easing, number 3, how will the Asian and ASEAN economies be affected?
I think if the stimulus helps to boost growth in the U.S., that is a good thing. That means we will start to see more external demand from the U.S. for Asian products. I think that's one channel. The other way that it will impact us is, I think, through capital flows. We could be back to the previous scenario with QE2, where the Federal Reserve delivers quantitative easing, but the money finds its way here instead, in search of higher yields, higher rates of growth, higher rates of return in general. In which case we are probably talking, with the onset of inflows coming, that probably will boost the Asian currency appreciation story.
If we talk about an economic hotspot, then undeniably it would be the eurozone. Amongst controversial warnings that the defragmentation in this decade-old unified currency is at hand, HSBC and Sian Lim does not think the crisis will develop that far, but she said the immense political will is required to keep the union intact.
I see. Okay, let's take a look at the eurozone now. There's some controversial critics who have said that the euro currency has lost its value, especially for Greece, because some people, they don't trust that Greece will stay in the eurozone for over 6 months, so oil transaction using the euro currency with Greece is not preferred. Do you agree with the claim that the euro is going to step down from its internationally traded currency?
I think what you are talking about is a has major implications. You're essentially talking about the defragmentation of the European Union. Now that's not our base case scenario. I think the union will have to stay intact, unfortunately at a high cost, but it will have to stay intact, because if it does not, and let's say members such as Greece are allowed to exit, it has significant implications, not just for Europe, but for the rest of the world as well. Because as you yourself mentioned, what then happens to all the assets around the world that are held in euros, and how do we then split all that up into drachmas and crowns and all the different European currencies. So our base case is that Europe will stay intact. Hopefully in September they will come up with a more concrete roadmap as to how to get out of this debt crisis. It will take some time, it will take a lot of work, it will take significant amounts of political will.
Yes.
But let's see what September brings. I think we would say that we are cautiously optimistic. As for ASEAN integration in 2012, Sian Lim talks about more that the faster we get to the ultimate goal, the stronger ASEAN region can be. With the dire circumstances on the global economic growth, can ASEAN integrate successfully at this point in time?
the ASEAN Economic Community integrating within 2015. And like you said, that the sovereign debt crisis in Europe might take some time. Do you see any obstacles that is born from this continued sustained crisis?
At the moment, I think the integration efforts, as far as I understand, they don't seem to have taken a hit yet from what's happening in Europe. And in fact, I would say the faster we get to the penultimate goal of ASEAN 2015, which is free flow of capital and labor, the faster we get to that level of integration, the stronger the region can be. Because then investment flows can improve, human capital will be allowed to cross borders very easily, and I think as a region, output levels can be lifted.
And you think the credibility for investment as a whole of the region will be lifted as well too, right?
Yes, but I think probably on that front there's still some work to be done, because if you look within ASEAN, I think the policy stance on investment, on foreign investment in particular, there are still some differences. If you look country to country, there are still some differences, and for these barriers to come down, it will take some time.
Yes, you're right. So what about just foreign direct investment into each ASEAN country? Which countries are the most lucrative in the second half of this year towards 2013?
That's an interesting question, and I think right now the outlook in terms of the FDI flows into ASEAN is a little bit clouded, simply by the fact that the world as a whole is slowing down.
Yes.
Businesses are seeing thinning profit margins, slower growth. So FDI, having a large correlation with the growth of major investment, major investor countries, I think by and large we are probably looking at slower FDI flows into ASEAN this year as a whole. But of course within that there is some differentiation. Foreign investors will tend to lean towards countries that offer friendly terms with regards to policy, how open it is, are there incentives, are costs low, is it easy to do business there, and another important consideration is the significance of the market. If a company ABC in the US will be thinking, if I set up a manufacturing plant there, does this country have significant long-term prospects that are attractive enough for me to stay there for the next 20 years? So within ASEAN, I think those prospects differ.
So Ms. Sian Lim, well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
And that wraps up today's edition of Towards 2015.
Stay tuned, same time, same place, same channel. Until then, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ